And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Ben, it's one of our very favorite shows today. We are, we're in Studio 5, which is always cool. So we're downstairs from where we usually are at Broadcast House. And it's KSL Kids. And we're raising money, the Radiothon, raising money for Primary Children's Hospital. And what a great cause, what a great asset in our community, and so excited to be part of a fundraising effort. So right out of the gate, 801 KSL Kids, and we're looking at people standing by. You know, when they say operators are standing by.
The phone bank.
We're literally looking at them. So 801 KSL Kids, that's 801-575-5437, or if you want to go online, kslkids.com. It's very simple. Raising money for a great cause today.
We've talked about how lucky we are to have this in our backyard. Families from all over the mountainous area, all over the come to Primary Children's because of the services they provide. And for us to have it right in our backyard is so special, but it really does. It helps Utah families. It helps families from all over, and certainly the most vulnerable kids. And it, with all sorts of backgrounds. So very cool.
Yeah, and we get a chance to talk to them on the show, and we're always excited about that, Ben. So there's a lot going on. Again, that number, 801-KSL-KIDS. That's 801-575-5437. And the theme this year, Ben, is Let's Celebrate, which I like it. So donate now, kslkids.com. Thanks for your help yesterday. Much appreciated.
Surely.
I left you with a pretty sizable news day, so I did feel okay about it.
Yeah, covering Austin Ainge, and right after he had been on DJ and PK was relatively smooth sailing.
Yeah, how about that? In fact, let's start there, right? I apologize if you're rehashing a little bit, but of course it remains the biggest story in sports right now, certainly locally. What were your initial reactions, not only from DJ and PK, the press conference? I know you've written about it. I'm curious.
I am hopeful that we will see him a little bit more than we saw Danny. But also, in the 48 hours since this news broke, the feeling I've really taken away is that Danny Ainge was doing a job he did not sign up for. Danny Ainge, and Ryan even said it during the press conference when they were introducing Austin. Danny did not sign up to be the president of basketball operations, and that's exactly what he was doing. He was serving in that role. Justin Zanuck, still the general manager, and still does a lot of that heavy lifting as well. And it changes from team to team on what responsibilities are assigned to what title. But I do think Danny ended up doing more work than he expected, so he's going to fall back into what I think he hoped he was getting into when he took this job with the Jazz. But Austin stepping into this role, being as candid as he was, especially on DJ and PK, I thought he had a lot of good info. I'm excited for that aspect and that transparency from the Jazz, which we haven't had in a while because Dennis Lindsey was notoriously private.
Yeah, he was not transparent, no.
Yeah.
Nor was Quinn Snyder, for that matter.
I think you guys ruined his willingness to jump on the radio.
No, that was Orrin Hatch, dude.
Oh, that's right.
That wasn't me. That was the late Senator.
That's right.
Orrin Hatch. It wasn't Dennis's thing. Dennis loved to filibuster because he knew we had a 20-minute window or a 15-minute window or whatever it was, and he's like, I'm going to fill up 19 minutes and 30 seconds worth of just sheer fill.
Yeah.
I remember I asked him one question once when he was bent out of shape about Rudy not making the All-Star team.
Right.
He came on. And we're like, what do you think about that, Dennis? 20 minutes later, okay, I guess we got to go. Hilarious. But, yeah, not transparent. No, sorry for the aside.
No, you're fine. I mean, that's exactly right. That was the problem. Dennis would talk a lot and not say anything, which is fine. And I'm sure we will get plenty of that from Austin Ainge. But, he also came on yesterday with DJ and PK and said, the most likely outcome is that they make all 4 picks that they have. That's not – I appreciate that type of transparency. A, it makes my job a little bit easier. It's an easy story to write. But B, it's like – yeah, you can talk about what is happening. Not everything needs to be so privileged. Not everything needs to be so private and hidden. And you can say something and then say, "Oh, yeah, situation changed and we had a better offer, or whatever happened, we decided to make the move. But it's okay to talk, even if you have to walk something back you later said. Don't make promises. You can learn how to do that, but I like that he came on.
Yeah, if they're being honest, sure.
Yes, if they're being honest, absolutely.
If they're being honest, I agree with that take. I think part of the reason Dennis Lindsey was the way he was is because he didn't want to outright lie.
Sure.
And stuff that he should have embraced and been honest about and not lied about, he just dodged instead.
Yes, agreed. And
you know what I mean?
Again, that's the thing is you can say something. Danny Ainge didn't lie about the Jazz big game hunting, right? And people want to hammer him for it, which is why I understand why people don't want to talk, because Danny says we're going big game hunting, and Jazz fans then expect them to sign, Paul George or whoever it was. And when it doesn't happen and they end up at Drew Eubanks, everyone gets frustrated. So I understand not setting yourself up for failure.
Hey, leave Cousin Drew out of this.
But I just appreciate that Austin Ainge wasn't two-word answering everything.
Yeah, what'd Cousin Drew do to you, Ben?
I liked him. Actually, he was fine. I did not like him, but he's just whatever.
What, they signed him off the couch and turned him into a second-round pick?
Second-round pick. Wow, what a deal.
Hey, those little deals could 100% matter.
You always want to have picks.
I'm kidding. I get your point that you're saying Cousin Drew is a letdown from, who'd you mention, Paul George or whoever it was?
For Jazz fans, I couldn't care less. Yeah.
Luka or Cousin Drew? Although I'd consider Cousin Drew. He might be less vulnerable than Luka.
Sure.
No, I believed him too. Yeah, hunting is the key word in that sentence, right? Yeah, I'm hoping for some transparency. Frankly, I'm hoping that Austin will talk more.
Exactly right.
I think Justin Zanuck talks some. He jumped on our show at training camp, which was much appreciated. But I think Jazz fans at this precarious time in particular would probably like to hear a little bit more from the front office, I would guess. Certainly, I don't expect Danny Ainge certainly now to be available any more than he was, but maybe Austin will get out there and be the face of it a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right on that. I think if there's a criticism of how this front office has been run since since Danny Ainge has taken over, it might be that.
Dennis Aingeley?
Dennis Aingeley. I think while I get a lot of it behind the scenes and I get to talk to these guys and I see them before games and whatever, and you can kind of get an understanding of the process and how it's going, and while there's no quote-unquote plan as Danny Ainge has resisted, it's not like they're just aimless. It's not blind luck that they're hoping for. They know what they're doing. They're moving in a certain direction. It's hard to relay everything I hear, whether it's off the record or just in kind of those casual conversations, into what I think fans want to know about what's happening with the team. And if Austin can speak a little bit more to it, I think that would be beneficial for Jazz fans, and it might put them at ease a little bit where there is a level of panic with this team that, they are in an absolute free fall, and I don't actually think that's the case.
No. Well, free fall, that's so extreme.
Of course, but that's how some people are viewing this team. People think the organization is about to fold because they don't have a superstar on the roster right now. And I'm not saying our listeners necessarily, but I see it online.
Do you know how many bad decisions that you have to make to be the Kings?
Yeah, the Bulls. Right. Yes.
Not just not make right decisions, but do you know how many bad decisions in a row that you have to make to be the Hornets?
Right.
And I know the big news, right, was that the take is over, everyone. I find that interesting because, what does that mean? I honestly believe, Ben, they could have been a play-in team last year.
Yeah.
I don't even think that that's too far. So what does that mean? They're actually going to play next year and be in the middle of the league? As irritating as I find the tank note grumble out there, it is not advantageous to be in the middle of the league. So what does that mean when the tank is over? I'm really happy for Will Hardy that he doesn't have to coach to lose games anymore. I'm happy for him. But that doesn't solve the issue of the Jazz don't have the roster right now to be a team that wins in a round in the playoffs. Even set the bar there.
That was the other thing that Austin Ainge talked about, and it's the question of can the Jazz have their cake and eat it too, which is can you have good players and can you also lose enough games to get your lottery pick? And the truth is, yes, but it has to look like what happened last year. Right. And Jazz fans hated that. And you still only got the 5th overall pick. And I would tell you that with some truth serum, the Jazz would tell you internally that they did not like how that felt last year, and I'm not sure they even trusted how it allowed their young players to develop. I don't think they maximized their ability to develop their young players last year, playing that way in a way that they had hoped might have been possible and wasn't.
Well, they certainly submarined Cody Williams' value.
So you have to find a way to, yes, allow Will Hardy to coach, hold these guys accountable, try to win games without winning too many games. And you do that by moving off your veterans. And I just think that's what this summer is going to be about. It's going to feel like the trade deadlines in 2023 and I guess 2024 as well, when you were moving off Kelly Olynyk or when you were moving off Mike Conley or Jared Vanderbilt or Malik Beasley, these names that we are familiar with now. I think that's what it's going to feel like, but the names are going to be John Collins and Colin Sexton, maybe Jordan Clarkson, and maybe Lowry if the right offer comes along. I don't think you're moving off Lowry to drop from 37 games to 27 games to get a draft pick. I think you're moving off Lowry if you're moving from the 5th pick to the 2nd pick. But I think you're willing to move off of John Collins and Colin Sexton for draft capital or younger players that are, maybe a little bit of an upside swing, but aren't necessarily going to get you up to 35 wins this year because I don't think they want to win more than 25 still.
Did you listen to Getzeiler at all this morning with DJ and BK? He's always really good. But anyway, he said the Jazz have really undercut Lowry's value. That him having the season he had last year makes him worth, half or whatever he was worth last year in the offseason. So if they did move Lowry, they'd be trading low.
Maybe.
When the value's low, which is not something you traditionally want to do.
I think we, as media and fans, have a more short-term memory than front offices do. And I think that comes in the draft. We'll see guys in the draft, and you're like, well, why did he get picked there? It's like, well, he was the 5th overall recruit. You know what I mean? And teams still remember that. And they had a weird context at their college spot or with Lowry Markkanen's. Not owners, but general managers, vice presidents, presidents of basketball operations, CEOs will look at the situation Lowry was in. If the Jazz wanted to trade him, and if Danny Ainge or now Austin Ainge and Justin Zanuck have a very high asking price, they will understand why. I mean, do you think Lowry's a worse player today than he was 12 months ago?
No.
You understand why his value is less. I agree with you. He didn't have as good a year last year as he was 2 years ago when he had made an all-star team, and then 2 seasons ago when he had played still very well and was probably a borderline all-star, but the Jazz weren't winning enough games. Yeah, last year he had a bad year. I get that. Guys ebb and flow. If you think Lowry Markkanen's a bad player now, you're a bad general manager. If you wouldn't trade for him because you think, he had averaged 19 points and only shot 43% from the floor, that's not good anymore. You weren't doing your job. You weren't paying attention to what was actually happening in the NBA.
Okay, I would say you're probably giving general managers or certain front offices a little too much credit because they trade for the hot thing all the time.
Of course they do.
And they overpay for it all the time. But with that in mind, it's not just about how good the player is. It's about the market. And general managers aren't going to say, I'm going to give you what you could have gotten last year now because why would I? He's coming off a season. He's created doubt. Why would I give you more for a guy that, I think he's as good as he was a year ago, but that didn't prove itself out on the floor. It's more than just the other. Of course, the other general manager thinks Lowry's good. That's why they're
trading for him.
That's why they're in trade talks for him. But they're not going to give him more than they have to. And does Kevin Durant and Giannis being on the market really exhaust the resources of other teams that would trade for Lowry? I mean, there's several factors in the market other than just, I don't think Lowry forgot how to play basketball. But the other team doesn't want to give the Jazz what they want either.
Correct.
So it's not quite that simple, I don't think.
I agree with you. It has more to do with, in my opinion, if you think Lowry has diminished trade value, it probably has more to do with the fact that Kevin Durant is available, potentially Giannis is available, and those are going to be the number 1 and number 2 overall attractions for teams trying to improve their roster. I would also say this. Let's not forget that apparently Brandon Podziemski was the drawing line for the Golden State Warriors that they wouldn't include for Lowry Markkanen. So it wasn't like anybody was kicking down the door to offer 3 future unprotected first-round picks, this year's rookie and a proven young player. Like, the package that the Jazz would have gotten apparently from the Warriors with, Kuminga or Wiggins and Podziemski and a draft pick or a couple of draft picks is not a crazy haul. It's not an overwhelmingly, blow your socks off haul, and I would be very surprised if the Jazz couldn't find something similar once again.
Which is why I thought it was silly that both the Jazz and the Warriors drew the line at such a, I don't want to say trivial because that's selling him short. I'm not saying he's not an NBA guy, but
Yeah.
like you draw the line at that.
Right.
It's like Sam Presti couldn't get over $5 million for James Harden. Remember? It's like, oh, $5 million apart. You couldn't figure out the sweet spot with $5 million.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But
like,
I think the Jazz.
But anyway,
I think the Jazz can accomplish their goals this season while still holding on to Lowry. If you move off some of the other guys, if that's what their desire is, if they don't think that they want to be in a spot where they are where they're winning too many games, I think you can still hold on to Lowry as long as you move off a couple of the other veterans, and I think you'll be in good shape.
Okay, we're here in Studio 5, where it's the Radiothon for the KSL Kids. 801 KSL Kids to donate. 801-575-5437. Call in and donate now, and we have a very special guest on the show. Colt is joining us. Hi, Colt. Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
We're great, man. How are you?
Pretty good.
Appreciate you jumping on with us.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell us about your experience with Primary Children's?
I got diagnosed with diabetes when I was 7 years old, and I went to Primary Children's Hospital up in Salt Lake. And I'm really grateful for what they did for me, like the team there and how kind they are and the fun stuff they provided for me.
And you're in a program that's kind of about growing up with this situation and taking care of yourself, right?
Yeah, transitioning.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So usually, when I go to my endocrinologist appointments, I usually just let my parents do the talking. I listen, but now I try to talk to them myself and do more things by myself and try to be in more charge of my health and be more responsible about it.
So you were 7, you said, when you first went in?
Yeah.
How old are you now?
15.
So you've been there for 8 years. I mean, that's more than half your life. You're very familiar with Primary Children's.
Yeah.
What's that been like, going from a 7-year-old and a very little kid to the point where now you're 15 and you're taking care of yourself and you've got these? How have they helped you kind of learn some of those things you need to do for yourself?
Well, when I was first there, they just taught me everything I need to know, basics about it, and it's just basically helped me. I've had support from family and friends with it, and it just makes it seem like I'm just like everyone else, normal. I can still do all the other things, and yeah.
All right, we are a sports station, so let's get to the important stuff. Are you a sports fan? Are you a sports guy?
Yeah, I love sports.
But you're a Utah fan, right?
BYU.
Oh, Coug fan.
Well, his dad played for BYU.
My dad played for BYU.
Yeah, well, that only makes sense, you know. Are you excited going into the football season? You like Kalani?
Yeah.
You a basketball fan
cool.
or football fan?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Basketball's very exciting.
Very exciting for BYU
Yeah,
basketball
it'll be
right
good
now.
this year.
Have you seen any tape on AJ DiBonsa? He looks.
I've seen him a lot. He looks really good.
He's going to be really good. Are you a Jazz fan too?
Yeah, I love the Jazz.
What should they do? You think you make a big move, trade for Giannis?
I want them to.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah.
You play too?
I just play junior jazz, but my main sport is track.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
What's your event?
I run 4 events. I do the 100 meter, the 200 meter, the long jump, and then sometimes I do the 4x1 relay race.
Wow, look out.
Very
Track's so cool.
Speedy.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, Colt, congratulations on all your success on the and everything, and thank you for jumping on with us, and go Cougs, right?
Yep.
All right.
There
Appreciate you, Colt.
Appreciate
Thank
Colt.
you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have more coming up next. That number again, 801 KSL Kids, or go to KSLkids.com. More straight ahead. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Austin Ainge announced as the president of basketball operations for the Utah Jazz. They've got a lot of work, obviously. There's not just a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of years to have to figure some things out. This is not a business-like position. This is a personnel position within the organization, and that is to say, hey, look, we have got to get the right personnel in the building. We've got to figure this thing out. We've got to find exactly where it is that we want to put ourselves.
This is a big loss for the Celtics. He played a big role in helping assemble the roster that they currently have. Brad Stevens runs the day-to-day operations of the Boston Celtics, and it says a lot that Brad could have sent Danny's son packing a long time ago if he didn't have value. Instead, he made him the assistant general manager. He helped build that roster that won an NBA championship last year. He has earned the place where he's at in the NBA today.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake, Scott, Ben, Anderson. We are live from the KSL Kids Radiothon. Call in 801-KSL Kids. That's 801-575-5437. And donate to a great cause. We're helping primary children's today. Amazing to be here and be able to help the kids. So 801-575-KSL Kids. We also want to remind you, nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Ben. Time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, in a move that was shocking to many, I don't know if it was shocking to you guys, the New York Knicks fired Coach Tibbs.
Jake's been calling for it for 3.5 years.
He's a bad coach.
I think he's in the top 15 of NBA coaches. I think he may be the Karl Anthony Towns of coaches, which is he has a fatal flaw, which is his desire to run his guys into the ground to win games at all costs can wind up hurting you. And you look at how the Pacers came back to win some of these games late, and credit the Knicks, they did it as well in the first round. They did it against the Celtics as well, erasing some 20-point deficits. They were tired, though, at the end of a lot of games. They're beat up and they're thin, and that was a result of Tibbs not playing deep rotations and not trusting young guys.
Yes. Here's my take on Tibbs, because I don't believe he's a top 15 NBA coach. Although there are some bad coaches out there, certainly. He figured out a gimmick. You know, how did you know the Knicks' record was going to turn around immediately?
Yeah.
Because he figured out a gimmick. If I play my guys 10 minutes more than you play yours, I'm going to win more games than I'm not. You know what I mean?
If I have a playoff rotation in game 1, we're going to win like we were trying in the playoffs. And the truth is the marathon doesn't allow that.
And then the playoffs come and everybody plays their guys. And he said, well, I'm going to play my guys even more. But I will add to that this Knicks experience that he's also not willing to put in the work. He took the easy way out. He gave it to Jalen Brunson. He's got a player that wants the ball all the time, a player that wants to deliver stats, a player whose father – apparently carries a lot of weight inside the building, who's actually on the staff. And he said, okay, I'll give it to Jalen the whole time. That's fine. And you wonder why Mikal Bridges is complaining? Why do you think? I mean, he was a rising star for Brooklyn and for Phoenix before that. He comes to the Knicks and is now watching Jalen Brunson play basketball, and he complains about being underutilized. Well, yeah, I would too. And usually I don't have a lot of stomach for that stuff. But Tibbs, who's supposed to be this old school kind of, hardcore communicator kind of guy, just gave up on his principles and gave the ball to Jalen Brunson the whole game. It's the reason I don't think Mike D'Antoni is that great a coach. He had all these principles. He had it in Phoenix and in L.A. and whatever. And he goes to Houston and has James Harden, and the easy thing to do is, okay, James, do whatever you want. He goes from the fastest-paced team or coach in the league to just a crawl, like last place in the entire league, because it's easy, because you don't want to do the hard things. Yeah, you did underutilize Mikal Bridges. You could argue they underutilized Karl Anthony Towns. Do you know how many assists that Jalen Brunson had to Karl Anthony Towns in the Eastern Conference Final?
How many? 5 total? Yeah. Too few, obviously. Yeah, 5. It's crazy.
So, Tibbs, whatever you're doing, and all this stuff, I think you're right, grinding out players, all that stuff. But I'm not going to give him credit for figuring out a cheat code in the game and then not really accomplish anything because of that cheat code. And then on top of that, he's not coaching. So
what's the Woody Allen bowling movie, Kingpin? And he finds
that's
out
not Woody Allen, but
or Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
What is it? Who is it? Quaid. And they realize,
Randy.
well, he bowls 15 frames. His average is like 280.
Because the Amish do everything 50% more than everybody else.
That's what Tom Thibodeau does, right?
Yes.
He just plays his guys 50% more. You don't actually have a 280 average.
It's funny. I mean, if you want to think about it, like Quinn Snyder, when he was coaching the Jazz pre-Jordan Clarkson, had no bench. None. As soon as any starter would come off the floor, the Jazz would start losing like avalanche style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so the franchise's solution was to make a pretty savvy trade for a bench guy so you could shore it up. Tom Thibodeau's solution would have been, guys, you're playing 40 tonight.
Yeah, right. Everyone's going up to 47.
Everybody's playing the whole entire game. It just not willing to do hard things. I think coaches need to make hard decisions. I think they need to coach winning basketball. And I don't think Thibodeau does that. I don't think he was doing that in New York.
Maybe this isn't a credit to Tibbs. And I will listen to it because I think you can probably make an argument against it based on what the expectation has become from these players. But I will say after he left Chicago got worse. After he left Minnesota got worse. Now, again, it's to your point. It's like, did you have that quality of team already? And because you played them 50% more, you actually just readjusted to how they actually were, and they actually weren't ever that competitive. Now, credit the Knicks. They did just make the conference finals, and they did beat the defending champion Celtics on the way. My bet is that the Knicks are not as good next year.
Well, yeah, because they're horribly run.
I think Leon Rose has actually done a pretty good job building out that roster.
Better than Phil Jackson, I'll give you that.
Sure, better than Phil Jackson. The challenge now will be for the Knicks to figure out if they can add some depth to a team that's going to be capped out.
Is that their only flaw?
No, it's not their only flaw. They've got two atrocious defenders in their starting five that you have to close the games with, in Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Their biggest flaw is Karl Anthony Towns.
I saw him described online as a
Quite literally
7-1 2 guard. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, and that's the he doesn't. I mean, the rotations that he blows, the number of open layups that you see Miles Turner just like back cut. It's just like Karl Anthony Towns 8 feet away from him. It's like how are you missing those reads? There's like a several minute long highlight reel of Tyrese Halliburton throwing passes for layups because Karl Anthony Towns is just nowhere to be found to defend the rim. So no, they've got to figure that out. And if you look at player movement odds and betting things like that, a lot of people are looking at the Suns as the favorite to land Karl Anthony Towns, which is so fitting.
Oh, I hope it happens.
It would be so fitting.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not rooting for the Knicks to move off that guy because I can't stand the Knicks. But if he actually got traded to the Suns, I would laugh so hard.
Like you said, they'd have both old maids. They'd have they'd have Beal.
In theory, they would have to move Beal in a cat deal, right?
Probably for Durant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So no, they have an issue. They are in the toughest spot I think you can really find yourself in the NBA, which is not a lot of assets. They traded all of them to get Mikal Bridges. They're close. They're clearly good. They didn't believe they were good enough to the point where they fired their coach, and now it's like, how do you break past really good to excellent? It's the guy who can never get off the Korn Ferry Tour. It's how do the guy who can never leave AAA? How do you get to that next level where you're actually truly in the conversation of elite teams?
Well,
and they're getting a little desperate.
Well, if you're the backup punter at Northern Colorado, you stab the starter.
Sure.
That's how you move up.
There are ways it's been done.
I'm telling you.
Well, they just stabbed Tom Thibodeau.
Think creatively. A lot of people saying it was Dolan's doing. By the way.
I do think Tom Thibodeau is just a hard person to be around. Notoriously, he's been a hard person to be around. He's hard on the media, etc. So I'm sure he's hard behind the scenes as well. I don't know if players love Tom Thibodeau by any means, other than the fact that you get to play a lot, your numbers are going to look good. Johnny Bryant, a name that's being thrown out there if he doesn't get hired by the Phoenix Suns.
Well, he better keep Rick Brunson on staff, or he's not going to get the gig.
Yeah. My first priority.
Can you imagine?
Keeping Rick around.
Can you imagine? We want to offer you this job, but you got to keep the star player's dad on your staff.
Okay.
Like what is this the NBA?
Yeah, right. Is this community college basketball or is this
Huh?
Yep.
All right, what's next?
Number 2, we are 1 day out from the NBA Finals.
I just hope we get a good series.
See, this is where the NBA, if they were a little more flexible, could why didn't we start the series on Tuesday? Let's move it up. I realize that TV, I guess, is probably the answer, but the NBA playoffs are too long.
They are very long, and they lost a little bit of momentum after some very fun series with Indiana and New York.
Great point.
And the Thunder and the Timberwolves, where, those got wrapped up in, 5 and 6 games? I get that you left a spot open for them to play Monday if they had to, but they didn't. They ended the series on Saturday. Yeah. Start Tuesday. Start tonight. But waiting a week basically in between games it just kills a little bit of the drive that it had, a little bit of the momentum it had. And even in this week, you see it. There's all this NFL is 100 days away. There's all this conversation. Now the Stanley Cup final starts tonight. Like, you've just been preempted by a couple of things, undercut by a couple of things. And then when you have two markets that aren't necessarily going to blow anyone's socks off, I do think you lose some of that viewership.
Yeah, I wonder what the ratings will be on the finals, just because the ratings overall in the playoffs have been up. So, it's kind of maybe puts a test to the theory that overall NBA fans like parity. But I don't know. Because overall NBA fans in the past have wanted New York against Boston,
Yeah.
Will there be the interest in the Pacers v. the Thunder? I think it's incredibly interesting. I wish maybe Indiana was a little bit more formidable.
Maybe I'm just not giving them credit. Maybe they are.
I know. We've been selling them short for 2 years now. But I don't think, if you had to pin me down on a prediction, which what do I know? But I would say OKC in 5.
Yeah, that's my thought too. And I think that's where most people are.
Which isn't really a competitive series.
And to be fair, I think both you and I thought the Pacers were going to beat the Knicks.
Yes,
we
did.
It's not like we haven't liked the Pacers. We thought the Pacers were going to give the Cavs a really good shot. I wasn't sure they were going to beat them, and then obviously they did. So credit the Pacers for that. But I'm not surprised that the Pacers are here once they beat the Cavaliers necessarily, and certainly when they were going to face the Knicks. But yes, I don't love their chances against OKC, but OKC's a monster. I hope the games are good.
Christian thought the Knicks were going all the way.
He got that tattoo.
There's somebody on this.
He got that 2025 Knicks tattoo. Yeah.
That is surprised, and his name is Christian. Christian, how were your emotions after the Thibodeau firing yesterday?
I was elated.
You were elated.
Happy.
Okay,
I'm just happy for my guy Timothy Chalamet.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
To root for.
Oh.
They're going to hire Michael Malone, and he's just the exact same coach. He's exactly Tom Thibodeau minus the minutes, but not trusting his bench, not trusting young players at all, and a hardo, a bit of a difficult person to be around.
Yeah, I don't think they should go for Plugs Malone. No.
Did you guys see Ben Stiller's statement?
What did Ben say?
He released like a lengthy tweet.
Why is he? He's been doing this throughout the playoffs. He's turning into a media guy.
He's basically just thanking Tibbs.
Oh Lord.
Why? I mean, I get it. The Knicks were disastrous, and Tibbs came in and helped right the ship a little bit. But
wait, say that again, Christian.
The Suns?
Breaking news a little bit from Shams. The Phoenix Suns are hiring Cleveland Cavaliers assistant Jordan Ott.
Okay.
So Johnny Bryant, not the head coach in Phoenix.
So Jordan Ott. Okay, well, there you go. The Suns have a new head coach. Good luck, Mr. Ott. You're really going to need it.
It's not going to work.
No, it's not going to go well.
You're going to hate it.
You're going to hate it. Hey, if Isaiah Thomas calls, answer.
They've had 4 coaches in 4 years. So, yeah, the Phoenix Suns are hiring Cavs assistant Jordan Ott. Funny that it was Cavs assistant Jordan Ott or Cavs assistant Johnny Bryant. They were not being that creative.
All right, what's next?
Number 3, as of this morning, Utah Valley University are leaving the WAC to join the Big West.
The poor WAC has just been through it. If you think where the WAC was in the mid to late 90s to where it is now. And, yeah, UVU's probably making a step up here. This is probably a good move for them. I'm going to miss those games against New Mexico State. And I mean that in all honesty. That was kind of a cool little rivalry that developed over the years. But, yeah, Big West, sure, whatever.
The WAC is now below the threshold of teams, so they're going to have to add teams to stay at their current ranking. They always just get picked apart, but that's
this
part
thing
of the
is always run downhill.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's the WACs of the world that really are the ones that pay the price. And so we'll see if they even survive going forward.
Of course, I don't have a strong affiliation to the WAC in any form other than I grew up and those were the teams locally we're playing in. But, yeah, good for Utah Valley. Man, I was on that campus last weekend. It's really great. They really invested in it. It's the real deal. It's
House party?
No, I was test driving the car. But it's nice. It's a really beautiful campus. It's a very legitimate university campus. It's very cool. So good for them.
People don't know this. Ben drives to Orem for house parties like all the time.
It's the only place I can get invited.
I
have to go a little bit further.
Orem. He'll go to Provo. Spanish Fork is probably your limit. I don't want to speak for you.
Until I get banned from Provo.
Okay.
And then I just...
Why would you get banned from Provo?
Same reason I got banned from Salt Lake and I'm in Orem now.
No, you like the Orem scene, that's all.
The scene?
Yeah. It's probably changed over the years. It's like the tech corridor now.
Sure.
It's probably more your speed.
Yeah. The tech people.
That's your people.
Okay.
The tech people. All right, stay tuned. We're live today from the KSL Kids Radiothon. So excited to be here. Raising money for primary children's, all of the great work that they do. We'll have guests throughout the show, including coming up next, telling you about some of that great work. You can donate at kslkids.com, or you can simply call. People are standing by. We're looking at them. 801 KSL Kids. That's 801-575-5437. Every little bit helps, so please call 801 KSL Kids. All right, more Jake and Ben coming up straight ahead. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
KSL Sports is proud to support Primary Children's Hospital with the KSL Give-A-Thon. We need your help raising money for sick Utah kids. Go to kslkids.com and donate now. Be a smile maker. An automatic monthly donation will help save lives all year long. Sponsored by J&J Garden Center in Layton. With the KSL Give-A-Thon, we can't do it without you. So give today at kslkids.com.
Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, live from the KSL Kids Radiothon, helping raise money for primary children's today. 801 KSL Kids is the number to call, or you can go to kslkids.com. Big thanks to those of you out there who have already donated. And for those who haven't, please, if you can, figure out a way to help us. Every little bit helps. 801-575 Kids.
I was a primary children's baby at 10 days old. I had something called pyloric stenosis, which your stomach, goes into a little tube and then it goes into your intestines, and that opening closed.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't digest any food. It just got stuck in my stomach and then came back out. So I had to go to primary children's and spend a lot of time there as a baby. Not a lot of time, but as a 10-year-old, it was a strong section of my life. So I'm appreciative, and so is my family, of primary children. As somebody who spent time there as a very small person.
KSLkids.com or 801 KSL Kids. It is Wednesday. We're sitting 2 tables down from the Arrow, 103.5. If you are caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE, you can win a 4-pack of tickets to 103.5, the Arrow Fest, featuring Styx, Kevin Cronin, and Don Felder at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, June 11th. In fact, coming up, next week? 2 weeks? 801-575-ZONE, and you could be going to Arrow Fest out there at the amphitheater. So there you go. Always love Wednesdays. Like we said, we're going to hopefully have a guest joining us here shortly. We're live at the Give-A-Thon, 801 KSL Kids, 801 KSL Kids. I am looking forward to the finals starting, though, Ben. I got to admit, coming up tomorrow. I'm hoping for Indiana to overachieve. Let me put it that way. Is that a fair standard?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I don't like is they do 2 days off in between every game, for the most part, at least early on. So we're going to get a game on Thursday, and then we're going to get a game on Sunday, and then we're going to get a game on Wednesday. Again, it's just way too spaced out. These teams know each other, build up some familiarity. I get if it's a sweep, they want to at least let it last a week long or over a week long, but then they start getting into a little bit more regularity. They'll play Wednesday, then they'll play Friday, then they'll play Monday, if necessary. But yeah, I would like a competitive series. It would be good for the NBA. Again, you said the playoffs have gotten good ratings, and this has been a fun playoff run. Offseason's going to be exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of player movement, so there'll be renewed interest, and Lakers are going to be a draw next year because Luka and LeBron are back. NBA's not in a bad spot by any means. They've got all the money coming in from the TV deal, but a good finals to show that, hey, even these smaller markets can be competitive, I think long-term would be beneficial.
Indiana needs to steal one of the first 2. And I'm not home court advantage guy, you know that, Ben. I think they need to steal the first 2 just to have an even foot in the series, not be chasing it.
I'm trying to pull up
because if
schedule.
they start chasing it against Oklahoma City, I think they're going to be in trouble.
What you can't do against the Thunder, which is the same thing you couldn't do against the Warriors, and they're not totally identical teams, but they have the ability to take that 5-point deficit and turn it into a 15-point lead really quickly. And the Warriors would do it with just a barrage of 3-point shooting, and if you missed, they were running and they were hitting a 3. The Thunder will just get a takeaway and get a layup, and then you miss a basket and they get a layup, and then they get another takeaway and they get a layup. It's different, but it's the same type of crushing offensive performance that'll blow you out, and that makes it really difficult. So yes, if you find yourself behind, and I don't just mean in a game, but in a series, you can start to get a little wonky. You can start to get a little concerned and find yourself playing from behind, and that's difficult. And if you look at what the Warriors have done so far in the series. Throughout the playoffs, they won their first 2 games against Milwaukee, they won their first 2 games against Cleveland, and they won their first 2 games against the Knicks. So they haven't even been in a 1-1 situation yet. So they are in a pretty advantageous spot where they've had success to open the playoffs. If they find themselves down 1-0 or 1-1, they could be in a hard spot.
All right, we're here for the Give-a-thon. 801-KSL-KIDS is the number to call, kslkids.com. Very special guests joining the show now. Roman is here with us, and his mom, Megan, as well. Thank you guys so much for jumping on with us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
Megan, what is your experience with Roman and being at Primary Children's?
Our experience has been fantastic because learning how to navigate his diagnosis has been incredibly difficult. And so having the team at Primary Children's help us and guide us has been life-changing.
And Roman's on the autism spectrum.
Yes.
When did he get diagnosed, and how did primaries help with that?
Yes, well, he was originally diagnosed at the age of 4 with ADHD and anxiety at Matt's Place in Centerville. And then he was diagnosed on the autism spectrum there as well at 8.
Okay.
And so being able to utilize Matt's Place to help, know what direction to go in.
Ben and I both have kids about this age, and can imagine the support from Primary Children's is very valuable from a parental perspective.
What was that? Sorry.
From a parent's perspective, the support.
The support has been crucial to my well-being, to be honest, because it's incredibly isolating, because having neurodivergent and neurotypical kids, trying to raise them, it's like a constant whiplash. And so knowing that I have this support from Roman's team, like they become my team, some people that I can go to and talk to see like what resources that I need. And there's so many different clinics at Primary Children's that can help cater to Roman. Like we just did integrated medicine acupuncture because we have a therapist that has some training for children on the spectrum. And so being able to see like what works specifically for him, because yes, autism is the diagnosis, but it's different for every child. And so knowing that there are different things that we can try and have their support and encouragement helps me feel more confident as I guide Roman through this journey.
Roman, what's your favorite thing about Primary Children's?
I don't know, playing the Xbox.
You get to play
Yes,
Xbox.
he absolutely loves the Xbox at the end of all of his appointments. You'll see all 3 kids up there spread out, and I'm just constantly making sure they're not causing more chaos than usual.
What's your game, Roman? What do you like?
And a Minecraft.
Yeah.
Did you see
Minecraft.
Did you see the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
How'd you like it? I saw the movie too. My kids loved it.
My favorite part is when the creeper explodes in that guy. And mostly when Steve screams chicken jockey, everyone went crazy.
Everyone went crazy.
That's mostly my most favorite part.
Oh man, everybody did go crazy. It was my favorite part too. Well, Megan and Roman, thank you very much, both of you, for jumping on our show today, and we appreciate you helping out Primary Children's too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you
Thank
bet.
you.
801-575-5437 is the number. That's 801-KSL-KIDS, or go to kslkids.com. More Jake and Ben, straight ahead, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I've always believed, and we've always done it, where you evaluate everyone, the whole draft. You never know what trades come in on the clock. So I've definitely spent a lot of time. I interviewed most of these young players at the combine already. I've put in the time all year on these guys. So I feel prepared, but certainly we'll crunch, and I can't wait to learn from all the great people in the Jazz organization and get their input and think through it. Big decisions. There'll be trade conversations, all these things. It's a very active time of year. So we got a lot to prepare for.
As Jazz President of Basketball Operations, Austin Ainge. It's the Jake and Ben Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, live from the Give-a-thon, supporting Primary Children's Hospital. Call and donate today, 801-KSL-KIDS, or you can also go online to kslkids.com. Ben, this is one of our very favorite shows we do all year, and it is inspiring when our listeners step up to the table and donate to a great cause. So thanks to everybody out there for supporting the Give-a-thon as well as the station. So 801-KSL-KIDS, 801-575-5437 to help the kids at Primary Children's.
3 weeks from tonight, the NBA draft. It's coming up really quickly. It's going to be here in no time. And as much as, again, Austin Ainge has said, I've talked to all these guys, I've scouted all these guys, and he has. He's watched a ton of video. I'm sure he's met all these guys. I do think you're probably getting down to the brass tacks, and here's the nice thing for the Jazz. Some of these guys are probably only now starting to work out for the team. They do their pro days, they hang out. They're going to do some workouts leading up to the draft. And I'm talking about the top 5 guys. The Jazz have probably worked out a lot of players that are going to be in that 21 to 43 to 53 range. But some of these really top guys that they're going to consider at 5 may have not even been to Utah yet.
No, but you would guess that he's also stepping into a building that has done reams of research on this sort of thing.
Yes,
forever.
absolutely.
It's not like he's coming in blind. He's talking about his own experience, but let's not pretend like Justin Zanuck hasn't been
or Danny
neck deep in this stuff for years, or Danny. I'm
right.
just using Justin as an example. So he's not exactly stepping into a building that's unprepared, and he's not coming from a spot where he wouldn't be prepared either.
And you know what? Truthfully, because what his last role was with the Celtics, where he wasn't president of basketball operations, where he wasn't the CEO, he actually might be a little bit more ingrained in the draft than even a Justin Zanuck is, who travels a lot of time with the actual Jazz themselves and is making decisions on players on the roster, as is Danny Ainge. You look at there's the Sean Jameses of the world that work for the Jazz that are kind of their lead college scout, and they're the Shane Penske guys that are assistant GMs that may have done more scouting as far as like college stuff. There's a chance that Austin Ainge has done more college scouting than either Justin or Danny to this point, because that was his primary role with the Celtics. So he just may be more familiar with it overall, which might have been one of the reasons why the Jazz wanted to bring him in when they did. If he's a guy who's a draft guy, they may have said, hey, this is the time. Let's get him in before the draft so he can help us with that decision-making and with the research he's already done, as opposed to losing out on that if he were to stay with the Celtics through the draft and then the Jazz pick him up after.
I can't help but think we're a little in the weeds on this whole thing. If they would have hired some guy from the outside or who was a GM in Europe or something like that, maybe that would be a factor. But you're trying to tell me that a guy who's been in the front office for years now isn't familiar with the draft? I would hope not.
No, that's not it at all. More so just, if you were running the Celtics, what would you be preparing to do? Draft 28th. You're not really preparing to draft 5th overall. And that doesn't mean you're not familiar with those guys, but I just think that the nature of it, you know how to mow your lawn. You don't know what it's like to mow a lawn in a different state. Well, yeah, it's different. Your focus is different. You know what the water your yard needs more than it would need in Florida, or specifically just kind of where you've been operating, You're going to be most comfortable, and that's going to be a pretty radical shift to go from 28 to jump up to 5 all of a sudden. But again, if he's a guy who's been spending more time watching the draft in general, he may just be ahead of where both Justin Zanuck and Danny Ainge are already.
I wonder, have you gotten wind about how many players they're working out? I mean, they're super secretive about it now, which is obnoxious in my opinion. But, we used to be able to go over there and interview, potential, like it was a whole thing. Now they don't even tell us who's working out and when. Do you have any impression?
I haven't. Other than I know they have been doing draft workouts. The only thing I would say that would be different this year, other than, they have a top 5 pick, so you're going to get everyone projected to go maybe even as high as 2. Maybe even Dylan Harper will come and work out for the Jazz, but definitely everyone 3, 4, 5, up to wherever, because even the 15th guy wants to say, I think I could move up to 5. And realistically, his agent says, well, you might also drop to 21, so you better go and work out in Utah. So they will get basically everybody other than Cooper Flagg and maybe Dylan Harper in the first round, I would imagine. The problem is, though, there were only 106 early entrant players into this year's draft, meaning guys who were underclassmen who entered the draft. That's down from 352 years ago. And that's the impact of the NIL, as guys are just not declaring for the draft as sophomores or juniors or freshmen. They're going back to college to get more money. So a third of the players who usually declared, and then 30 of those players dropped out. So as far as underclassmen, this doesn't count seniors or international players who are 22 years and older. But as far as underclassmen go, there were 60 that declared for the draft. 60. That's crazy.
That's great.
Yeah, no, that's actually good news.
Great for everybody.
That is good news because, A, those guys are getting good feedback that, yes, you're probably going to get drafted. or they're throwing not their life away, but they're making a really risky decision. But yes, they've probably gotten pretty good feedback that they're going to get drafted and they're going to have a chance to actually make the NBA versus some kid who's like, well, 200 other kids also did it. Why not me? No, it's down to 60 players that kept their name in the draft.
Just because I'm a one-and-done guy. I mean, the stat that you just rattled off that was alarming to me, that is down from
350.
Yeah, that's 350 guys who could have gone back to college and put themselves in a better position, and they wash out.
They were still able to pull their names out of those 350, so I don't know how many would end up staying in the draft. But if you started at 106 and something like 29 pulled out or 39 pulled out, and now there's only 60-ish players that are left in the draft as far as freshmen, sophomore, and juniors from college last year, it's just a really low number. So when we talk about are you going to bring in 130 players, there just may not be 130 players to work out, especially because international players are still playing. You don't get to work out a lot of international guys if their teams are still competing. So a lot of these guys who are projected to go in the first round that are international players are never going to come here. You're going to be drafting them, quote-unquote, blind without having a personal workout, though they've interviewed them and seen them overseas a lot.
I always did like Dennis Lindsey's shotgun approach to working players out.
Yeah.
He worked out anybody with a pulse. And I think that is how you find maybe diamonds in the rough and that sort of thing. But I do go back to our conversation we had, was it Monday or maybe it was last week, on does this sift out guys that were never going to make it but have potential and plug in more experienced players that have been able to prove that they have a skill set that might be NBA ready, or does the stigma continue to exist, even though you and I both thought it was foolish in the first place, that you don't draft upper-class players because they would have left by now if they were any good?
Right.
So are you getting fewer players, and this was why you presented that whole discussion and why I think it's relevant. Are you getting fewer players, like is there less talent in the draft? Or is there just more proven talent in the draft and less high-ceiling guys?
I would say it's probably a little bit of both, because I actually think this year it is just a weird little bit of a bottleneck where the NIL money is so high all of a sudden, like dramatically higher this year than it was even seemingly last year. So there are more guys who are staying, and I would bet that course corrects. But then all these guys who stayed this year are now a year older and are going to declare for the draft next year, to either because they're upperclassmen, they're seniors, and they graduate and they don't have college eligibility left, or because they don't want to be 22 years old going into their senior season as 23-year-olds and fearing, okay, now I'm just too old to get drafted. So I do worry that this year, or I would speculate, I'm not worried about it, I'm not losing sleep. I would speculate that maybe this year is just a little bit of a mixture of the two. Guys going back to college because the money's so good, and a little bit of a bubble, the financial bubble in NIL right now, and not having last year's juniors who did the same thing because last year's juniors just declared instead of going back to college. They're not backfilling this year's draft. So I just think there might be a few fewer players. Now, look, the truth is, as you've said a lot, you can go back and look at every Basketball Reference draft. Look in the second round, you will find 10 guys in the second round who never play an NBA game. Like, the truth is, there's always only been 50 guys.
Yep.
If that. And a lot of those guys play 15 games, 18 games. So the truth is, there's probably 40 guys every year that actually are truly NBA players that enter the draft.
So in the weeding out process, and I'm thinking like Cannon Catchings comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
If this weren't the NIL era, he would have declared for the draft.
Yeah.
Because he'd still be trying to
course.
capitalize on the buzz he had coming out of high school, and he would have gone to the draft and probably been picked in the second round, if at all, and likely would not have made it. I don't mean to sell the young man short. I'm just picking out somebody that maybe...
And if people don't remember, Cannon Catchings, big-time recruit at BYU last year, top 40 recruit, I think, in the country, and just didn't fit. Just didn't play a whole lot, didn't have a particularly good freshman season, and you're right, is transferring now. Where did he end up?
Oh, someplace fairly good, didn't he? Yeah, he's transferring now. He's probably Georgia. He's taking a lot of money from Georgia, and he's going to have another bite at the apple to prove that he's a guy. And by the way, I'm personally cheering for him. But I think you compare a story that it would be different is Frank Jackson, who goes to Duke, and then he comes out and he's a second-round pick, and he never really makes it. I mean, he made the team.
Yeah.
And he played games, but he never really made it, where maybe if he would have gone back to Duke or developed his skills or, made some money playing college, it could be different, than it ended up being. But Frank would have been top 10 pick if he could have come out after his high school?
Yeah.
So are you just weeding out these guys that aren't actually guys but have a lot of buzz? Or are you weeding out players that actually have true NBA potential?
No, I actually think in the long term it's better. I do think in the next year, year after that, if this continues and the NIL continues and the NBA draft doesn't change its rules to allow or to get rid of one and done so high school players come out, I actually think this is better. I think you're going to sift through more players. I think you're going to have more data on these players, and you're going to see who can actually do what.
I think it's going to be better, too. I agree with you.
And we will drop some of the stigma on drafting older players. I think one of the stupidest things we do is it matters a little bit. But so Jeremiah Fears, who's projected to be drafted in the top 10, he reclassified in high school. So he's 18 years old, turning 19. And we're like, oh, him compared to Con Knipple. I mean, Con Knipple's going to be 20. It's like, come on. I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. You're talking about an 18-year-old competing against 19-year-olds his whole life, and there's some meaning there. And Con Knipple's 20 competing against 19-year-olds his whole life, and he's been a little bit of a class ahead. And it's like, are you telling me the 20-year-old doesn't have any more upside? You're telling me the 20-year-old's not going to get better at basketball? You're telling me that the gap between the guy who's 9 months younger is so huge that you're going to take a player who's completely unproven because you think that 9 months is going to change everything? I hate that. I hate that about
ridiculous.
The draft. I hate that projection. Guys get better throughout their entire careers. Guys get better in their 30s, in fact, I don't know if guys get better. I don't know if the growth that guys make from 18 to 19 or 19 to 20 when they're in the NBA has anything to do with the age itself or just the fact that they're making the jump from college to the pros. And you're playing against all these better players. So your growth is going to be so dramatic. I think it's just because of your competition more so than it is, you do your best basketball growth because of your actual, the months you've been alive. I don't think that's true.
No, I don't either. But nor do I think it's true that everyone improves throughout their career. In fact, I think that's the key to a draft is
picking guys who can.
Picking guys who can improve. The ultimate example of this that I always come to is Dwight Howard never got better.
Sure.
And he was the number 1 pick. Never got better. He was the same player the day he entered the league to now playing in China. Or is he done with that?
He's done. He's retired.
Has he retired from doing that? All right. Good for him. But there are guys who, instead of you're the number 1 pick and have the talent and physical capabilities of Dwight Howard, he can make you last 10 years. But the trick is, I mean, how many of these guys are legit, NBA players right now in the draft, honestly? Right down day one. And I say legit NBA players, I'm saying legit rotation guys that contribute on a good team. Not even guys that get 30 minutes on a Bobcats, but I'm talking about guys that would play on any team in the league in the rotation.
Oh, any team in the league?
Day one.
6?
Oh, I even think that might be high.
Yeah, it might be high. Cooper Flagg is one, for sure. Some of the shooters are going to step in and be able to shoot. You know what I mean? And then a couple of the just I'm a defensive guy. I'm just a strong 23-year-old defensive player, might be able to get 8 minutes a night.
I don't mean to pick on Cody, but he was a draft pick last year. If he doesn't get better, he's not going to play in the league.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah, not even close. Yeah. Keontae George might not.
Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't improve as basketball players and their skill set and all these things, they're not going to go forward.
I would say to the bar that you're talking about. I mean, they're playing in the NBA right now. Keontae did, but the I'm in the rotation of every team in the NBA right now. Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair.
So that's the trick to the draft is, I'm going to draft on potential, but who's going to get there? And that's where all sorts of other little things, like you hope you do have a good interview with them and you can check with their coaches and find out what the work ethic is all about. But you can never really know. I mean, PJ Carlissimo gave Luther Wright a glowing ring of endorsement. I mean, you have to really do your stuff, and even then you can miss, So that's the bet. At number 5, the Jazz are not going to take a player who's probably quote-unquote NBA ready. They're going to take somebody they hope can make an all-star team one day. But hopefully you combine that with the personality and the development. One of the shots your guy Tibbs has taken in New York is that he doesn't develop young players. All these things have to come together to make an all-star. Donovan Mitchell, if he got drafted by another team, I bet it would have taken him at least 2 or maybe 3 more years to get to his all-star status.
If he ever gets there.
Because
he might have been stymied too early in his career and taken a different route.
Right. He got drafted into a team that needed his services and gave him an extraordinary amount of latitude for a rookie and had a coach who was willing to game plan into that.
Yep.
That doesn't happen everywhere.
Agreed.
For what was Donovan, the 12th pick? 13th.
13? Yeah, I think 13.
13th pick?
Yeah.
Heck no. He lucked out that Gordon Hayward bounced.
Right, exactly right.
2 days after he was drafted or whatever it was. 3 days after he was drafted. It's the best thing that ever happened to Donovan Mitchell's career. He's still benefiting from that to this day.
Yeah, he is. No question about it.
So, the draft is so tricky. That's why I think I have a strong distaste for quote-unquote draft experts.
The truth is, nobody's a draft expert.
Right.
You can be really well-versed in the draft. I consider myself well-versed. I know the players. I watch a lot of them. I read a lot about them. I listen to a lot about them. Like, I consume a ton of information about them. I'm not under any pretense that I know exactly what they're going to look like in 3 years from now. And, yeah, if you think you can project, like, I know this guy's going to be a star, it's like, well, it's either because they're already a star, and that's why everyone's picking them number one overall, or you're lying to yourself. Because if the NBA teams aren't good at it, NBA teams are bad at drafting, really bad at drafting. Austin Ainge said yesterday on DJ and PK, he said it goes between, it's like baseball. Your worst hitter is 250 and your best hitter is 350. And that's about what the draft is as well. Like, yeah, it's about that small of a gap.
Draft experts. What are they? Are they ranking the best players in the draft? Or are they predicting what dumb teams are going to do? Or what dumb teams should do? Or I love the draft range. Well, they're in this range, not that range.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, right. I get
What
it.
range was Giannis in when he slipped to 15?
Right.
But it's funny, they're sensitive about it. I mean, that's why Chad Ford got in trouble, right?
Of course.
Went back and scrubbed his record.
Right.
Anyway. All right, we're here at the Give-A-Thon. 801-KSL-KIDS is the number to call to donate. 801-575-5437 or go to KSLKids.com. We're raising money for primary children's, and we're very excited about our next guest, Ben. Her journey has gone from NICU patient to NICU nurse, who also moonlights as a jazz dancer, who has a very nice jazz pin on right now, looking very, very fancy. Nurse Grace is with us here on Jake and Ben. Thanks for jumping on with us. We appreciate it. Pull that down. There you go. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
What is your journey? Jake walked through it a little bit there, but to what you're doing now and how you work with primary children's.
Yeah, so I started as a nurse in September of 2024. As a NICU nurse at Primary Children's, around the same time I was offered a position on the Utah Jazz dance team.
Great.
So I kind of have been doing dual careers for the last year, which has been a whirlwind, but so amazing and rewarding. So it's been so fun.
I am so grateful for the NICU nurses of the world. My little daughter spent 10 days in the NICU for blood sugar. It wasn't all that serious, but I mean, the nurses were just incredible. And to see the care that they're giving to these just babies who are at their most vulnerable point in life is just amazing. I mean, it's amazing what you do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's so rewarding for me as well, just getting to be there for the patients and the families. Like, it's beyond anything I could have ever imagined for myself. And just, I think with the pediatric population, it just their resilience and just is so inspiring to me. And yeah, I just love working with the babies. They just bring me so much joy, and talking with the parents just bring me so much joy too. And being there for the vulnerable moments and kind of being either the shoulder to cry on or the person to celebrate with. I just love all the joy that's there.
I think our producer's wife, Christian, his wife also works with you, or has worked in the NICU as well. And he's talked about, it's just emotional. It's a really hard job, and it's very rewarding, but it also comes with the difficulty.
Yeah.
We talked about it with the nurse, the parents, how difficult that is. And you guys give the parents that break, that time away, that optionality, and some of that expertise to make their life a little bit easier.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good when they're there, but it's also good when they're not, because it's definitely a balancing act emotionally for the parents and for us too. But I think no matter what they do, whether they're there, whether they're not, I feel like the babies and the patients can always sense their presence and know that they're loved, and just know that they'll be all right. Yeah.
Here's my dumb question for you.
Yeah.
Do you ever get tired of washing your hands for like 20 minutes before you can go in?
Honestly, it's kind of like a good cleanser, because we scrub in like before we start our shift and wash our hands a lot during the day. But it's also like, for me, it's like a good refresh, a good restart to see in the next patient and just making somebody's day. It just is a good cleanser refresh.
So Jake and I both cover the Jazz. Jake does the pre-half and post-game show, and I write about the Jazz. we enjoy our summers. We enjoy time away. Do you guys get a break? I mean, do you guys get much of a break, or you?
Not really.
Yeah.
But we don't mind at all. We do a lot of appearances during the summer, and then this week actually is our auditions.
Oh, wow.
So our auditions are all this week, and we just keep going with just appearances, and then we start practice and jump right into preseason and summer league, and
it's short.
And we just and
not
then
a lot of time off.
We hit the ground running for sure.
I'm the king of dumb questions, but I'm going to ask another one. Is it fun? Or because you guys make it look fun when you're out there. You make it look super fun. But I don't know if it's actually fun or you've just got to smile all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it. Honestly, it's a dream come true. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old. And so I always knew that I wanted to dance professionally. And my whole family growing up, we were huge Utah Jazz fans. And so being able to connect with Ryan and Ashley Smith and my coach Ashley Kelson, it was just a whole big dream come true. And every time I go out on the floor or I'm in the community doing an appearance, it's just like, this is what I've worked so hard for, like, my whole life, because I danced in college as well. And so I think each step growing up dancing, it just all prepared me for like this one great moment.
It's important to remember that your nurses are real people and your real people are nurses. You know what I mean? Like everyone's got a lot going on, and it's a lot of responsibility.
Do you ever combine professions, like your pot of meringue around the NICU, or like a
you'll
chasse here or
definitely
there?
see me dancing in the hall or dance with my babies, because music therapy is huge.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll always see me rocking to some Disney music with my kiddos, and we have dance parties all the time if you see me around the unit.
Awesome. So cool. Well, Nurse Grace, thank you for jumping on our show.
Thank
you for all you do for the kids. We appreciate it, and we'll see you around the building.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
There you go. We'll have more Jake and Ben. What you got Wednesday next? 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Eric Weddle, kind enough to join us. You find out you're up for the College Football Hall of Fame. What's your first thought when you get that phone call?
Just humbled by it all, quite honestly. I think I have a real shot is the College Football Hall of Fame. I don't think I have any shot at the NFL Hall of Fame. So when I look at the College Football Hall of Fame, I think, yeah, I belong there at some point, whether it's now or 10 years from now. Like, I think I belong as one of the best college football players to have played the game. So whenever it happens, or if it happens, like, you guys know me, I live life to the fullest. It's not going to change whether I fall asleep at 10 o'clock or midnight. I got many other things that are on my mind. But it's really humbling and truly honored, obviously, and know that it took coaches, players, faculty, family, wife, kids. Like, it doesn't happen alone.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What you got Wednesday? What's the deal? Jake Scott rules, Ben's out to steal.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Hanson, Scotty G. Coming up on Friday from noon to 3 at the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games in Cedar City. Celebrate 40 years of Utah sports tradition with Hanson Scotty. That's very exciting.
Really cool.
We had someone just playing a very sweet rendition of a Fleetwood Mac song right next to us on FM
Landslide.
100. Yeah, that's a great song. Kind of a sad song.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're live today. We're down here at the Give-a-thon, raising money for primary children's. We need your help. 801-KSL-KIDS. It's 801-575-5437, or go to kslkids.com. We're helping a great cause in Primary Children's Hospital. We're always excited to help and always inspired by our listeners' generosity. So 801-575-KIDS. That's 801-575-5437. It is time now, Ben, for What You Got Wednesday. If you're new to the show, every Wednesday, Jake and Ben go head-to-head on a 5-selection draft, 2 5-selection drafts, one sports-related, one not, and then we put it out for a vote on the Snap Talk. Christian, what were the results of last week?
Last week, best Utah Jazz draft picks. Jake, you won that one, 59-41. Wow. And then best spy movies, Ben, you won 82-18.
Wow.
Landslide.
Yeah. Speaking of
yeah, landslide. Big time. Got smoked in that one. No Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy fans out there, apparently. Like Ben, thought that movie was slow.
I did fall asleep in the theater.
I think
Did you
Dr.
really?
No really did it for you.
What was it you thought, Christian?
Dr. No.
Picked it early, right?
Yeah, went too
That was
early
your
with
first
James.
pick,
You
yeah.
went too early with James Bond.
Yeah.
I thought everybody loved James Bond.
That's what you thought.
Apparently not Dr. No. So Ben has the first pick in the sports draft, and I have the first pick in the not sports draft. What is our topic on the sports draft today?
In honor of Coach Tibbs getting fired, we're going to go with overrated coaches.
Overrated coaches.
Shout out Tibbs. There's a lot. This is a good list. I put out 10. I feel comfortable in just about all of them. Is there an obvious number one pick?
I think so.
I think there's two obvious number one picks.
Okay. So there's not one then.
No. I will go with actually number two on my board. I'm going to go with John Calipari.
That's the number one pick,
Okay.
in my opinion.
All right. John Calipari, I think, he's had a lot of success. He's won a lot in basketball. He's an unbelievable recruiter. He was probably cheating to get all those players to go to Kentucky, and by probably, I mean he was definitely doing that. But he did get them to go play for him, and he did, with all that talent, manage to squeak out one national championship. And he has won at every school he's been at. He won at Arkansas this year. He won at UMass. He won at Memphis. He won at Kentucky. So he's got that going for him. But, yeah, I'll take Coach Cal.
All right, I'm going to go with this. I don't know if it's the guy that you're thinking of, but I'm going to go with old Stinkin'.
That's who I have. That was my other bet, was Stinkin' Riley.
Old Stinkin' Riley. I think incredibly overrated.
Yeah, he's very much like Coach Calipari, right? Gets incredible recruits, number one overall draft picks, has guys at the key positions, and just doesn't win at the right level. It's because he's not pulling the right buttons. You're pulling the right trigger, whatever. He's fun. He's interesting. He's not a great coach. Otherwise, his teams would win more. All right. I'll follow this up. I'm going to go with Mike Shanahan.
Uh-huh.
I think Shanahan, again, kind of got this wonderkind crown placed on him. And, again, he's gotten close. He's gotten to the Super Bowl, but I think Shanahan's got to be on this list. Kyle Shanahan. Excuse me, Kyle. Not Mike. Kyle Shanahan. Yes, excuse me. Young man. Sorry,
All right.
mixing up dad and son. Kyle Shanahan, excuse me.
I think this is either going to give me a lot of votes or none at all.
Okay.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Rode for years on the coattails of Tom Brady. Tom shows him up by winning in Tampa, and then he can't even get another NFL job and has to take a job at North Carolina, where apparently his rogue girlfriend is running the show. Bill Belichick.
I considered putting him on my list. He didn't make my top 10. But, yeah, Bill Belichick, absolutely on there. All right, I'll go with my favorite overrated NBA coach, and I'm going to go with Doc Rivers. Glenn.
Is he overrated or just everybody think he stinks?
I think people have probably gone back on Doc Rivers and recognized he's only a so-so coach at best. He might not be a top 15 coach in the NBA. More so, it's just like, if you've driven a car long enough, you're going to be an okay driver.
Uh-huh.
He's just driven a car for a long time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean he's a race car driver. It doesn't mean you're putting him in F1, but he keeps getting F1 jobs.
All right, let's see. Ben, I'm going to go with Brian Kelly.
Okay.
He got a lot of credit for being a very mediocre Notre Dame head coach, in my opinion. Then it takes the LSU job and has done basically nothing.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly.
I think that's absolutely fair. I understand that. I would very much consider that pick, and has also really fallen out of favor, kind of in circles. Kind of everyone recognizes how overrated he is, and certainly overpaid now. Along those lines, a guy who's I think headed in that direction, who was the hottest name for a minute, Mario Cristobal, who actually makes bad coaching decisions, like blows games with bad decisions late in games. So I'm going to take Mario Cristobal at Miami. Same thing at Oregon. Give me Mario.
This pick may not give me votes because he really hasn't been around for several years. But, I mean, Jeff Fisher.
Yeah.
The head coach of the Titans forever. How do you keep a job that long doing nothing? And then he goes to the Rams and gets the move to L.A. and all this stuff. And the Rams get immediately better as soon as they get a different coach.
Yep, they did.
And I'm not the biggest McShay fan in the world. I do think he is a pretty good coach. As soon as you got someone with half a brain in there, all of a sudden that, they're going to a Super Bowl and then winning one? Jeff Fisher. He's like what Mark Jackson was if Mark kept his job for 20 years.
Yeah, he kind of got crowned as a genius, and obviously he won the Super Bowl and designed the greatest show on turf. I get it, right? Like, there's some stuff there, but I'm with you. He coasted on that reputation for a very long time. What pick is this for me? Last pick for me. All right, I'll go with my. I'll go with Dabo Swinney. I think that's an easy pick for me. I'll take Dabo. He also won pre-NIL. Now he said, like, I'm not going to participate in NIL. It's like, I get you don't have the money to compete now at this level, but you were certainly using money to get some of those players to get to Clemson early on before everyone else was doing it, and now you're not winning there at the highest level anymore. So give me Dabo Swinney.
All right, Ben. I feel like college basketball is rife with coaches that everybody feels is overrated. But should I go a different direction? This is tough. This is our last one because there are plenty of NBA coaches that are overrated. All right, let's go with. Except for I love this guy, but you know what? I'm going to do it. Don Nelson.
Okay, yeah.
Second winningest coach in NBA history. I talked about how Tibbs just figured out a gimmick. Don Nelson just figured out a gimmick. Then he never won anything. I think he might have won in the ABA. Did he win a championship in the ABA?
To your point, though, you talked about Mark Jackson as a coach. Actually, Mark Jackson as a player is extremely overrated. Like, he just played forever, so I think he's number 2 overall in the assists total behind Stockton. It's like the gap between Stockton and Mark Jackson is so enormous as far as quality of player.
Right.
But then you look at he's kind of close in assists. It's like only because he played forever. Now, so did John. John played forever.
Right.
But John was so much better than a Mark Jackson. And yes, to your point, I think the best coaches in the NBA were significantly better than Don Nelson, even in their primes.
Right. So I kind of waffled between he and Lenny Wilkens because they both are in that same play where they just coached forever. But Don Nelson.
Who else should have been on this list? Honorable mentions? Christian, anyone jump out to you?
Mike Tomlin.
I actually just think Tomlin's a pretty good coach, but
he's good but not great. I mean, they're consistently 8-8 or 9-7.
Has a Super Bowl.
But it's the Steelers, which are just one of those very solid franchises, and maybe he's coasting off that. Les Miles could be in this conversation. It seems like LSU coaches in general could be in this conversation. With some local ties, Dave Aranda was a big hot name for a while. And then the other NBA coach I'd throw out there that's probably the most overrated, though again has come back to earth dramatically, is Nick Nurse.
Oh, he is overrated. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. All right. What is our not sports?
Today, let's do best child actors.
Best child actors. We are here. It's the Give-a-thon. We're here for the kids. For primary children, it's 801 KSL Kids or 801-575-5437. All right. Best child actors. Is there an automatic number one?
I think there is. Jake has the number 1 overall pick, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a number 1 overall pick.
This is probably just a result of the time period in which I grew up, but I got to go with Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, I think it's exactly right.
I mean, Home Alone was the biggest movie in the world forever. And then he had other performances that were good. He was in Uncle Buck before that. And then you know what was nice about him? He kind of went away after he was a kid star.
And, for as much as, this guy's weird, he's pretty well adjusted.
Yeah, has he been married forever?
He's been married. She's an actor. He's got kids, I think. Yeah, he just seems like a pretty normal dude. He doesn't take himself too seriously. He doesn't seem afraid to be like the Home Alone kid.
Right.
So I don't think he's run from that. So, yeah, I think you're exactly right. And yeah, that's got to be the number 1 overall pick. All right, I'll actually probably go. I'll go with somebody who's been in the news lately. I'll go with Haley Joel Osment.
Oh yeah, fighting people and getting drunk at the ski hill, huh?
And saying horrible, horrible things, inexcusable things.
And good old Mammoth going crazy.
But in Sixth Sense, he just is. He's so captivating. It's such a good role. It's one of the great kid roles of all time. And he did some good work as a kid in general. He's in AI as well. But obviously what he did in Sixth Sense, going toe-to-toe with Bruce Willis and really capturing that role. Give me Haley Joel Osment.
All right, Ben, I'm going to go with, her from E.T., Drew Barrymore.
Oh, yeah, very good.
One of the more infamous child stars, I'd say.
Yeah, and didn't handle it super well early on, and then has since rebounded and has turned into a seemingly somewhat normal person.
Well, I think she handled it fine when she was a kid. I think it was the middle years there that she struggled.
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yes, same. I guess not quite to that extent, and I certainly wasn't on camera my whole life. No, good pick. I didn't even have her on my list, but that's a good pick. All right, I'm going to go role here because I think it might be the best child actor role, and it is a little bit in the ilk of Macaulay Culkin. I'll go with Peter Billingsley, who's the kid in Christmas Story, because he carries that movie, and it's a classic, and he really is on screen in every single scene and is really good. He's like very believable as that kid, and he's done some acting as he's gotten older, but Peter Billingsley in Christmas Story.
Let's see. All right, I'm going to go with this just because, I mean, there was a whole generation that grew up with this kid, right? Daniel Radcliffe.
Okay. Mr. Harry Potter.
The Harry Potter kid.
Yeah, he's a little bit like the Jerry Seinfeld of that group. He might be the worst actor of all those kids, but he's still the center of all of it.
Oh, man, he hit the gold mine when he got that role. It's
Yes,
like
he
you're
did.
going to have a role for the next 15 years, dude.
And he's also adjusted relatively well as a human being. He's tried to do movies to be like, I'm not just Harry Potter.
Yeah, you are.
But he's not a crazy person.
No.
You know, he's not going to jail. All on my friend Haley Joel Osment. All right, I'm going to go a little bit older. I'll go teenager, and I'm going to go with Edward Furlong from Terminator 2, which also a very good role. And that kid's just like a gritty kid. And we actually, like, my son has friends like that. It's like funny to see, oh, you're the Edward Furlong kid. That's actually based on a real kid, like the latchkey kid whose mom is actually trying to shut down Skynet. So give him a little leeway.
Okay.
Edward Furlong.
Did not have him on the radar, but good times. Somebody has to take this next guy, Jaleel White.
Do you?
Steve Urkel? Legend. Dang legend.
Did I do that?
Oh, my gosh. He made, that show was on for like 15 years. No, not that long, but based on that one stupid catch line.
Yeah. You're right. He did, and never did anything else of any importance. Christian, what pick is this for me?
This is number 4 for you.
This is 4. Okay, so I've got one more in my bag. All right, I will go with. I'll go with name value. I'll go Lindsay Lohan from Freaky Friday, who did not handle the transition to being an older person.
Well, that
very
wasn't
well.
even her famous kid role, right? I mean, she was in the Parent Trap.
Parent Trap.
Parent Trap. Yeah, not Freaky
little.
Friday. She wasn't Freaky Friday. Sorry, it's another. I've changed my appearance. Yes, Parent Trap. Excuse me. Lindsay Lohan in Parent Trap. She is in Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis.
All right, yeah, sure. My buddy saw her once when she... Never mind. I'm not going to tell that story. I'm going to go with my next selection.
She's also in Mean Girls, right? She's kind of a young person there. She's like a high school
Oh,
kid.
it qualifies, but
Yeah.
her like child
Sure.
star
No, you're
role
exactly right.
was
You're right.
definitely
Parent
the
Trap.
Parent Trap. I'm going to go with the Olsen twins. Can I take both? The reason I'm picking them is because
Yeah,
they
you can.
really revolutionized the marketing of child actors. I don't know if you want to say for better or for worse, but it made them into billionaires by marketing like makeup and video games and like apparel and stuff.
And then they became producers.
So yeah, they really capitalized on it quite well.
What's their production company called? Dual Star. Hence, 2 kids, Dual Star. And yeah, it's just a huge production company. So they've made tons and tons of money. All right, my last pick. I've got to do it. I've got to go with Anna Chlumsky. Everyone knows her from My Girl. I Can't See Without My Glasses. Who, by the way, Jake brought his glasses today. And you still can't read some of these
And
names.
where is his glasses? He can't see with.
There it was. That was half the drop, at least. Anna Chlumsky from My Girl.
So nice for you. That's great.
You thought I was going to let that go, didn't you?
Here, I was in a good mood. We're here at the Give-a-thon KSL Kids, 801 KSL Kids, 801-575-5437, or go to kslkids.com. We're raising money for Primary Children's Hospital, so every little bit helps. We appreciate all of you that have helped already. 801 KSL Kids, 801-575-5437. Wrapping up the show. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Time to welcome in Austin Ainge, Utah Jazz President of Basketball Operations.
Is it fair to say it's a dream come true for you? Because I know you've worked on it for a long time, and I remember talking to you when you were a player that this is something that you wanted to do. You put your nose to the grindstone and got the job done. I'm wondering if you're looking at it like that.
Absolute dream come true. I've been grinding in the G League and in gyms in Serbia and Lithuania, finding guys. This is what I love. This is my passion. I'm so excited to do this with Ryan and Ashley Smith and Will Hardy and all the people in the Jazz. I've been interviewing for these jobs the last few years. I actually had some others to talk to this summer. I've been exploring and looking at these opportunities, and this one just felt right because of the people involved and the timing in my life.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This segment brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255, Peach Doors and Windows. We are live today at the Give-a-thon for KSL Kids. Raise money for primary children's, 801-575-KIDS, 801-575-5437. We have a very special guest on the show, and I've been looking forward to this one all day, Ben. Not that all our guests haven't been terrific, but joining us now, she's a musical therapist for primary children's, Sarah Langenberger, with us on Jake and Ben. Sarah, it's great to meet you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
I think you're a great example of all the different things that primary children's does. I think, we think of instant care or, emergency rooms or, some of the really, really hard, life-changing situations that parents accidentally find themselves in. But it's a holistic approach to making sure that kids are enjoying their time and families are enjoying their time at primary children's, and that's something you do as a music therapist.
Yes, absolutely. So, so much when your child's in the hospital is rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10. Tell me where it hurts. Tell me, are you feeling nauseous today? But the power of music therapy and really all of our expressive therapies, child life, and that holistic approach, like you said, is to really ask, how are you feeling? How are you coping with all of this? Having cancer is scary. Having these illnesses is scary. How are you, emotionally dealing with it? And while we can work on all of the motor stuff and pain control and all those things too, so much of our work at its heart is these children's hearts, and asking, what they're feeling and how they're doing with their hospital stay.
How did you find yourself going down this path?
Yeah, I have always had a passion for helping people, and I loved, the science of music is very, very interesting to me. And so here I am. I started my education almost 10 years ago, and I've been working at Primary Children's for 3 years in December. So just really combining a love of music with a love of helping people with a little bit of the cool science thrown in there too.
We're a little bit up against the clock, but can you give us a verse of something the kids respond to?
Oh, yeah. This is I'm Still Standing from the movie Sing, but also Elton John. Mostly Elton John. You can never know what it's like. Your blood like when it freezes just like ice. And there's a cold lonely light that shines from you. You'll wind up like the wreck you hide behind that mask you use. Don't you know that I'm still standing better than I ever did? Looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid. And I'm still standing after all this time, picking up the pieces of my mind without you on my mind. I'm still standing, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still standing, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
very well
So
done.
amazing.
Very well done.
Thank
and
you.
I love the movie Sing, by the way.
Yes, it's
Johnny's
really good.
version is great, and my kids love that movie. It is awesome. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing with us, and thank you for all that you do with all the kids. Thank you very much,
So
Sarah.
cool.
Thank you.
Great to meet you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
All right, 801 KSL Kids. That's 801-575-5437, or go to kslkids.com. Help support the kids and the programs like music therapy with Sarah. That was just terrific. And we want to thank everybody for all their great work down here making this Give-a-thon go, Ben. It's been a lot of fun to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. Very an honor for us to be a part of, and something we're happy to be able to do and hopefully raise some money.
801 KSL Kids. It's 801-575-5437, or simply go to kslkids.com. Hans and Scotty will keep the momentum going. Coming up right around the corner, Ben and I will talk to you tomorrow for a Thursday show. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.